Last night, Enzo Fernandez, Enzo Maresca made a very, very bold decision to rotate every single position compared to what we did against Newcastle in the Premier League. And it did backfire massively. He says the performance was good. I mean, we look at the result, we say something totally different. So from my perspective, I traveled out there and very, very disappointed with the result. Yeah, really, really upset when I was in Newcastle. I've obviously calmed down since then. Big up to everyone. I hope you're all doing very well at Chelsea Fan TV. My name is Alex. We're going to be going through the day after Newcastle to Chelsea. Now, it's usually the morning after, but have some patience, guys. I couldn't get back in time because Newcastle is practically in Scotland. So smash the like button if you haven't already. Let's see if we can get let's see if we can get up to 10 likes straight away on YouTube. And big up to everyone watching on X as well. We're going to speak about Enzo Maresca and what he's been saying. We're also going to break down the players pound for pound. Yeah, let's get straight into it. The quote on Chelsea's website is, "We lost because of 10 minutes." That's what Enzo Maresca said. He believes that Chelsea were made to pay for the first 10 were made to pay for 10 first half minutes against Newcastle United, and was generally pleased with his side's performance despite the exit from the Carabao Cup. Now, from the get-go, I have to say, guys, personally, I am not very happy with that performance. So it'll be very interesting to see why Enzo Maresca thinks that this performance was acceptable, because if he says it's a good performance, it means it's acceptable. Yeah, that's what he's essentially saying. But let's break it down. Let's go through it. Despite playing away, the Blues had 2/3 of possession against the Magpies and created several good openings across the 90 minutes. But the hosts scored 2 goals in 3 minutes midway through the first half, with Renato Vega's slip and potential foul contributing to Alexander Isak's opening, and then Disasi turning a header into his own net soon after. 11 changes, as we alluded to earlier. Here's what Maresca had to say about making those changes. And I quote, "I think that it worked if we analyze the performance. If we analyze the result, then it didn't work." There you go. It worked. If you analyze the performance, it worked. What do I say to that? I mean, I like Maresca, but I don't really understand what he's trying to get out of this. I mean, he made 11 changes. Can we not agree that it wasn't the right changes? Can we agree he made too many changes? I think that's fair. That's a fair assessment, isn't it? I mean, come on, guys. This is just... I don't know how anyone can accept what we saw against Newcastle. I really, really don't. But let's read through it together. So he thinks for 23 minutes until their goal, we were in control of the game and didn't concede anything. Then after the goal, we lost control for 10 minutes when we conceded the second goal. And then for the last 10 minutes of the first half, we created 2 or 3 clear-cut chances where we unfortunately didn't score. And in the second half, we were in control of the game. So I know the most important thing is the result. But with the performance, we lost the game because of 10 minutes. And for the rest, we were quite good. I don't know, guys. I don't know what to say. I am going to go through the comments, guys. I am going to go through comments, but we're going to talk about Enzo Maresca first. Yeah, I just don't understand what he's trying to get out of this. He says that 10 minutes of the game is where we lost it. I mean, if you ask me, I think Newcastle defended us quite comfortably within that game. I didn't look at Mudryk and think that he was causing many problems. I didn't look at Felix. I actually thought, and this is the interesting thing, people say that Felix was an absolute disgrace. By the end of the first half, I mean, I thought Felix was our best player. So I'm not entirely sure why people think he's a disgrace. Is that just because of his poor finishing? If that is the case, then I completely understand where you're coming from. If that is because of what he did during the game, then that's something totally different. So let me know what you guys think. I mean, Do you think João Felix was as bad as other people, or are you on my side where you think actually it wasn't that bad in terms of his performance? It was just the final touch. It was just the final finish, and he definitely should have scored not one goal but two really. And his poor finishing cost us in that game. But we can't just look at one player and blame it all on João Felix. There's certainly more to this. Maresca was asked how different it had been to play against the Geordies tonight compared to at Stamford Bridge. He said, I didn't see a big difference. I think that the last game, they were more or less in the same way as tonight, trying to be aggressive. Today, I think we did quite well. The first goal is one we can avoid because we know playing through the middle, we know they are quite aggressive. So the solution was to go outside, but it can happen. I didn't see a big difference between tonight and Sunday. For sure, they needed to win this game to build momentum because of their last results. I don't know, guys. For me, it comes across. There's a few ways we can take this, yeah. And I always try and be open, try and understand what people are trying to say. I like Enzo Maresca. He's been very blunt. He's very honest. And I'm sure he's actually being honest. I don't believe he's lying. I don't believe that. So I'm not going to sit here and say that what he was saying was just PR, because I don't believe that he was just saying it for the press or the cameras. I genuinely believe that he thinks that was acceptable. And that's the worry. That's the issue. Is he's saying today, I think we did quite well. Okay, but like, are you going to say that every time we get knocked out of a cup competition? This is not acceptable in the Carabao Cup at this stage. We need to be pushing to win this cup. Some people are saying, you know what, we don't have to worry about this competition because of rotation. We don't need to think about it. What am I supposed to think about? Because this competition domestically is the most attainable trophy that Chelsea can get their hands on. Tottenham literally beat Man City. So there's your number one competitor who would be the most likely candidate to end up going the whole way. Man City are out. So we would have played potentially Arsenal, Tottenham. I know Liverpool are still in there. You have a couple of good games. You're at Wembley. You have a chance to pick up a trophy. Now, we could do it with last season's squad with Pochettino. I'm sorry, we could do it now. And I'm not saying I expect a result away at Newcastle. That's absolutely not what I'm saying, because that would be entitled and we wouldn't be looking at the bigger picture, which is that Newcastle played a strong team. They had Anthony Gordon back, one of their best players. They didn't start Guimaraes, but they still had a strong team. Yeah, I look at Newcastle and I knew they were going to be threatening. And for me, I would have done things differently in the Premier League game instead of starting a super strong 11 then and then having a completely different team on Wednesday night. I would have started Jackson against Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. I probably would have rested Lavia in the Prem so that we could still have some stability in the midfield yesterday. I think Fernandez deserved the start after the Panathinaikos game. So for him to play in the Premier League wouldn't have been a big issue for me, because he would have still had Caicedo next to him. And I think that it was worth trying. We still have a lot more quality than Newcastle, not to mention the fact that our back line is clearly more competent in terms of our first team squad than the squad that we had yesterday. And we're going to talk about the defense. I mean, Jesus Christ. Yeah, very, very disappointing. But let's continue with Maresca, because he did actually say a couple of other things. So let's just finish that off. He continued, we need to be better at many things, but we didn't concede any chances from their pressing 3 days ago because we contacted not with the first line. On Sunday, it was Romeo Lavia and Moises Caicedo, and tonight is Renato Vega, Enzo Fernandez, and Marc Cucurella. We always tried to contact with the second line because we know they are very aggressive. 2 days ago, we did very well, and I think we did very well tonight, apart from the goal we conceded. But for sure, we have many things we can do better. And listen, I'm in agreement with him on that one. There are plenty of things that Enzo Maresca can change and plenty of things that he needs to change. I don't want to get into a position where I'm doing these reviews the day after a match and we're saying the same thing every week. A bit like what we had with Maurizio Sarri. Now, I personally like Sarri, but I can understand why a lot of people were frustrated. But one thing that Sarri did do was he took the cup competition seriously. We got to the Carabao Cup final under Sarri, even with the heavy rotation that we had in the Europa League. We were playing a second string team at times, but we were bringing players in and out. It wasn't like we were playing 11 men in the Prem and 11 men in a different side. So there was some continuity. There was absolutely no resemblance of what we saw at Stamford Bridge yesterday because there was nothing there that was... You brought Cole Palmer to Newcastle and you decided not even to use him. So for me, I didn't understand that side of it. He only made one substitution. The only substitution that Maresca made was bringing on Noni Madueke for Kieran Dewsbury-Hall. And he decided not to bring on Palmer, don't bring on Chukwuemeka or Mark Guiu. So he was asked specifically about Palmer and if there was a reason that the England international was left on the bench. And his response was very simple. He said, no, it was simply because João Felix and Nkunku were doing very well. And it was just a case we needed Cole, but João and Felix were doing very well. There was no need to change. That is literally what Enzo Maresca said. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. So, yeah, for me, I don't understand how he looks at this. And also, maybe João Felix, like he's probably the one player, and in my opinion, he was the best of a bad bunch. Yeah. Although he missed those big chances, he still made some good movements. He was involved. I don't think that João Felix was terrible. I don't think he was great. I don't think he was terrible, though. Palmer would have certainly made a difference had he come on. But listen, I don't want to break the players down too much. Yeah, we look at the manager and we just go from there. I mean, let's see what you guys are saying in the comments. Big up to everyone that's watching. Enzo Fernandez was poor yesterday. I think the team lineup was wrong, Daniel. I can agree with you on that one. AB TV thinks I should get a refund. Listen, if it was that easy, I think we'd all do it. We must beat Manchester United on Sunday. Vega was dreadful yesterday. Yeah, I'm with you there. No excuses, that's right. Joe says, with our A team, we only barely won at Stamford Bridge because Isak didn't pass for that open goal. Why are we acting like it would have been an automatic win, especially at St. James's? Well, nobody thinks that we should have automatically won, but I think the frustration is that we didn't attempt to change anything. And we were already losing, so it clearly wasn't working. And we still made only one change when we have 5 substitutes. So it just makes no sense to me why we didn't change anything. I think that Maresca has had a lot of credit for his tactical in-game management. I think he's been very good in a lot of games. I think he let himself down. I really, really do. Daniel thinks that he would have started Gusto. He should have started Gusto. That's fair enough. Fair play. Charlie, to be honest with you, bro, I'm just going to do this one on my own. So if you want to jump on in the evening, we'll be doing a show in the evening. But I'm just going to do this one on my own, to be honest. Right, let's move on to the players. Player for player. Here we go. Where do we start, people? Where do we start? Let's go. Let's start from the bottom, and we'll work our way up. Okay, so let's start off with none other than the goalkeeper, Philip Jorgensen. What do we think about Philip Jorgensen? This guy has been pushing for a start. He, he was desperate to play. And, yeah, I mean, in the stadium, it looked pretty poor from his perspective. What did it look like on the telly? Did it look as bad as I thought it did? Or was I overreacting in the stadium? Because honestly, for me, he didn't give me any confidence. I didn't feel the stability, which is exactly what I wanted Like we said, if we can get a good performance from Jorgensen in this game, we have genuine reason to push. And it's like anything, you have to put pressure on the manager by performing. And also, Sanchez has to perform badly for there to even be a chance of rotation. But yeah, I think Jorgensen let himself down as well, to be honest with you. And ultimately, the back line was poor, and I don't think that made his job any easier. But he could have done better for me. He could have done better. Some of the distribution, I felt like it was a bit slow, a bit shaky. I'm sure we gave the ball away at times with Jorgensen. I mean, I don't understand what went wrong. I really don't understand it, mate. The lack of communication. Who's organising the players in front of him? You, as a goalkeeper, you're meant to try and help the players in front of you. I don't feel like he did. For me, Jorgensen let himself down massively, and yeah, I just don't understand. I don't understand what's happened, but yeah, this guy's really got to pick it up. And if Sanchez is still poor, then we're working with two bums, aren't we? Ultimately, and we thought maybe that we had a keeper that could come in, save the day, good distribution. We've been bigging him up with his feet, but that's where he let us down as well. So yeah, not very happy with Jorgensen. I think we've got to see more from him. Yeah, really disappointed, and I hope that he can bounce back. But yeah, it's still not good enough whatsoever. We move on to right back, Axel Disasi. I mean, nobody wanted this guy to play as a right back, but there you go, he was, and I don't think there was any surprises there. He is our worst defender when he's a right back. He just can't play as a right back. I did see one adjustment, which is that, and Kev, who was sitting next to me, for those of you who watched the vlog or the fan cams, Kev spoke about this in his fan cam. There was no width with Disasi. He wasn't pushing himself out. So if you are a fullback, generally you go out wide to receive a ball, you push up a little bit. He just stayed very close to Tosin and Badiashile. There wasn't much width there at all. And I think that was a tactical decision. I don't think that Disasi just did that off his own back, because we saw him attempt to try and play as more of a quote-unquote fullback / wing-back, whatever you want to call it, against Bournemouth, and that was a disaster. But this was a disaster as well. I mean, not only did the guy not perform, he scored an own goal. How embarrassing is that? Mitchy Boy thinks that this is why we can see these guys not starting in the Premier League. The pressing and movement to receive is not there. Chelsea Boy says horrendous. I don't think we're going to see them rot on the bench for the whole season, though, Money Mace. Listen, as long as we're in multiple competitions, we are going to rotate. But I just think that we could be a little bit smarter with this. So the blame is on Disasi because he was poor, but I am putting the blame on the manager. You should not play this guy as a right back. You shouldn't do it. I would have rather we played Gusto. Yeah, we've got Reece James back fit as well. You know, we still have a right back available. It's not like we only have one right back. There are options. So we could have gotten away with that. Gusto did many games consecutively under Pochettino when he was covering for Reece James. He didn't have any real injury issues. He had a couple of weeks when he was out. But generally speaking, nothing serious. So I don't understand. From a tactical point of view, that comes across as really poor management. And you have chucked Disasi in the deep end, Maresca. You've made him look bad when he's not as bad as that. If you would have played him at a centre-back, I don't think he would have been that bad. Well, we know he wouldn't. But you tried to squeeze in Badiashile and toss in just to rotate everything anyway. So, yeah, not impressed with what I saw from Disasi. For me, really poor. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him playing as a right back. So I don't want to be too harsh on him because he's not playing in his natural position. It's like when we had Colwell playing as a left back. You know that this is not how the player is supposed to fit into the system. Anyway, we move on to Tosin Adebayo. Another poor performance. Listen, this was my guy. And he let us down again. He was shy. He's too slow passing the ball. If you look at the own goal from Disasi, that actually came, first of all, from the fact that we couldn't block the cross, and Kunku was a little bit too far out, but I'm not going to place all the blame on Kunku. Listen, we couldn't block the cross initially. And then that first header, Tosin was nowhere near it, and he should have been the one to win that first header because he missed out. And then Disasi was under pressure, and the ball went in his own net. So Tosin, listen, it wasn't good enough either. I mean, yes, he made a good pass. All right, mate. He made a good pass. So, Sanchez makes good saves, but he gives the ball away all the time. Come on, guys. We can't just look at one moment. We have to look at it as a whole. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. And I'm very objective here. I like Tosin. I actually think Tosin is one of my favorite players when he come in because of his leadership qualities, the fact that we got on a free. He's a tall player. He's got a good personality. I thought he'd embed well into the squad. And yeah, he let us down. There's no two ways about it. He was poor against Liverpool in terms of his positioning and the way he passed the ball. I saw Maresca against Liverpool saying you've got to go here, not there. Yeah, on the ball again, Tosin was not good enough for me. So yeah, really disappointed with what I saw from him. Am I going to say it was worse than Disasi? No. But again, Tosin had the benefit of at least being able to play in his natural position. So, you know, that is the difference. I can criticize Tosin because he is a centre-back. Disasi isn't a right-back. Benoit Badiashile. I hated this man. Hatred. Any of you watched pre-season when we played Real Madrid? I can't remember if it was Vinicius or Rodrigo. One of the players got round the keeper. Badiashile was there. He could have easily tried to slide in and clear the ball. He decided not to do it. This was no lack of quality. This was a clear lack of effort. I said at that point, I can't do this. You can't play for Chelsea anymore. You're an absolute disgrace. Now, because Tosin was so bad against Liverpool, Badiashile then got his chance to make an impact, and he made a fantastic impact. Him and Neto came on and made a massive difference. And at that point, we said, well, maybe this can be the moment for Badiashile to turn his season around. But yeah, I mean, anyone trying to stake a claim in the first team playing this type of football, you are making life very difficult for yourself and very easy for the manager because he hasn't got much to think about. Although I say that, Maresca said that this was a good performance. So maybe I'm talking rubbish. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. And Badiashile had a great game. I mean, I would have loved for there to be some questions individually about these guys. And I'm sure there were some because we know about Nkunku and João Felix. And we're going to move on to them later. But Badiashile, he was poor. Really poor. And the one thing that Tosin has, even though he lacks the ability to pass the ball quickly, which I think is something Badiashile generally can do well, is he is more of a natural leader and he tries to get stuck in. Badiashile just shies away and he just comes across as timid, which is the worst trait ever for a centre-back. Like, who wants a centre-back that doesn't lead the lines? It's just, it's ridiculous. So yeah, Badiashile, poor from him. Not happy with what I saw from his side. Really disappointed. We move on to one of the players who I don't think was actually terrible. But it's hard to look good when you're playing with bums anyway. Marc Cucurella, he should have never been in this team based on the fact that everyone around him was rubbish. But I didn't have a massive issue with Cucurella. Listen, he was okay. He created one of the chances for Vega in the first half. His energy is good. I didn't have a massive problem with Cucurella, so I'm not going to sit here and slate him. I like Cucurella, and you can see that he was one of the players that stood out by the end of the game. Yeah, you can't criticize the guy, and I hope he starts against United as well. But this almost proves what we've been saying, yeah? So you're happy to give Cucurella a run out in this game, and then I'm sure he'll play against United. If he doesn't, I'll be shocked. And why couldn't you do that with one or two other players? Why couldn't we have given Nicholas Jackson a run out? Why couldn't have Caicedo played more minutes, or something to just even up this team and give us some familiarity to what it is like to win? Because this is not just an edge in terms of quality, it's a mental edge. We've already beaten Newcastle a couple of days ago. Those players that beat Newcastle didn't have the chance to use that mental edge because none of them were on the pitch. Cucurella came on as a substitute, so I don't really think that counts. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any complaints with Cucurella. He is a star in this team. He is shining. He certainly didn't shine yesterday, but I'm not going to sit here and criticize him like he was rubbish, because he wasn't. Okay. We go on to the midfield. This is a player that I didn't want to see in the midfield. I thought we might see him as a left back. My genuine feeling was that we would have seen Tosin, Badiashile, or Disasi, at least one of those players dropped, right? You give two of them game time, and what we have seen is, if you really want to rotate, you could play Cucurella as a right back. And we did that under Pochettino. Those of you remember, we played Brighton in the Cup. I think we won that game 1-0. Nicholas Jackson scored a goal. I don't think it was really a great team performance. But Cucurella, considering how bad he had been for such a long time, that was the start of his redemption as a right back. And he's the best left back in this team. He's arguably one of the best left backs in the league. So I wouldn't have minded seeing Vega as a left back, inverting, and then having Cucurella on the right for some stability, because he is stable on either side and he is actually versatile. If he wasn't, he wouldn't be able to invert in the first place. But yeah, Vega, for me, I wasn't impressed with what I saw from him. He's not a midfielder. He's not a midfielder. Chelsea boy is absolutely right. He's not a midfielder. I remember when he started in the midfield against Bournemouth, we were getting pummeled in that game as well. And I think things improved, but we changed things tactically. Maresca did change things. Vega, it's almost a bit like Tosin at centre back. It's just a bit too slow at times. A bit too slow. He's not nifty. One of the things we like about Lavia is he's quick and he's nifty and he can get past someone. You don't really have that with Vega. He gets the ball, he passes the ball. He's not looking to take players on and dribble, not really looking to go up and create problems up the top of the pitch, scoring goals. He had a chance, which was defended by Newcastle off of Cucurella's cross. I like Vega as well, but it's like Disasi. He was played out of position. And if you want to force Vega to play in the midfield in the Conference League, I guess we can bite our teeth. But no, not for me. It's not something I want to see on a regular basis. This proves that actually, even with the depth that we have in this team, it is not enough if we want to seriously compete in all competitions. Because if you are going to rotate heavily, which is what this manager clearly wants to do, and all the best to him, like, I'm not holding this result personally against Maresca, but we have to admit it was a poor performance from the manager. He's got to do a lot better than that, because what he did made his players look worse than they actually are. Some of the players played in their actual position and were poor. But I do think it would have been easy if you had a natural fullback as a fullback, a natural midfielder as a midfielder, a natural right winger as a right winger. I do think these things make a difference. I'm not asking for the world here. I'm just saying, like, is this not common sense? Like, am I being silly here? Can we not just play our players in the right position? You all wanted to criticize Pochettino for this, and I'll sit here and say Poch was wrong for a number of things. Chilwell's not a left winger, and Colwell's certainly not a left back. There's other players as well, but Maresca's doing the same thing. I do think that he turned down the chance of a trophy. But going back to Vega. It wasn't good enough from him, and I certainly wasn't impressed. But it's difficult when you're not playing in your natural position. Big up to Jonathan. Let's smash the likes, people. We've got 240 people watching Combined, we've got 60 on YouTube, 180 on X. Can we all smash the like button, please? Let's get to 60 likes on YouTube. Smash that like button. It really, really helps. And on X, smash the like button as well, or I don't even know what you do. Do something. Yeah, so not impressed with Vega, but I'm not going to hold it against him. Listen, it's not personal, is it? The guy is not a midfielder. I would have much rather him play as a left back and invert, and then we could have picked a different option instead of the Sassy toss-in or Badia Shield, so that everybody could have played in their respective positions. We got Enzo Fernandez here as well. What do we make of his performance, the Argentinian? There's been some news coming out about him and his partner. They are splitting up. They're no longer going to be together. In fact, I can get a quote up for you as well if you would like. Enzo Fernandez. It was nothing malicious, to be honest with you. You know, his missus has come out and said that basically, you know, she still loves him, and they've obviously got kids together and everything like that. Let's get it up. Here we go. So her name is Valentina Cervantes, and on Instagram, she said, Enzo and I have decided to take some distance from each other today, but we will always be family and we will always support each other in everything because there are 2 children involved who need a lot of love from us. I know the person Enzo is and what an excellent father he is, as well as the heart he has, and that is enough for me. Please don't try and create conflicts where there are none. So there's some clarity on the Enzo Fernandez situation. He's splitting up with his missus, but it's nothing personal. So there you go. But listen, we have to talk about the football. I understand people have things going on in their personal life. I've got things going on in my personal life. I got into my house. I literally arrived from Newcastle to my house 10 minutes before I started this stream. 10 minutes. So since yesterday, I got to Stoke at 6 a.m. I was driving with Kev. And of course, he fell asleep on the way. I told you guys, there's no way I'm getting through a 4-hour journey without Kev falling asleep while he's driving. So we had to pull over, and we got all the way to Leeds. And then we pulled over. We went to bed for a couple of hours. We woke up. He felt refreshed. Well, refreshed as you can be after such a little amount of sleep. And then we went to Stoke, slept for maybe another 2 hours, and then we went over. I mean, Kev was literally, and then Kev, he's a football coach, yeah? He's a football coach. He had training at 10 o'clock. He had training at 10 o'clock. I mean, I thought to myself, at least I don't need to stream until the afternoon, and I've got work at 3 myself. So, you know, I've got to go just before 3 o'clock. But yeah, I mean, we got to Stoke, and then Kev said, listen, Alex, before I drop you at the station, I need you to help me set up my football session. Now, I'm not a football coach, guys. Anyone who knows me, I'm a tennis coach. That's what I do for a living. That's my day job. I don't really know how you coach football, but I was setting up cones this morning. I was putting all the spikes in, you know, the ones you run around, and preparing everything for the kids. And then as soon as you know, we got on the train after from Stoke to Reading, which is near where I live. And here I am. So it's not easy, guys. And we have every right to be angry about this performance, especially if you traveled to that game. And big up to you if you're watching and you did go. But Enzo Fernandez was poor. He was absolutely shocking. And I've been criticizing this guy. And I always say, when I'm criticizing people, I don't want it to seem like I hate them. I don't hate Enzo. I like Enzo. He is not good enough. He is not good enough. He was good enough, but the system has changed. And good players can change with different systems. He's clearly not good enough to adapt with this. And of course, the mental aspect of going through things with his family, like, I'm not here to shit on him and say that, you know, it's all going to be okay, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. All I can talk about, I'm a Chelsea fan, ultimately. I'm not a therapist. I can't sit between him and his missus and say, right, how do you feel and how do you feel? I just want to see you kick a ball and do it well. Run around the pitch, make some tackles, everyone's happy. And if you can't do that, then quite frankly, as a fan, it gets to a point where, listen, I support you. You're a Chelsea player, but I'm not going to appreciate you. I'm not going to sit here and say Enzo Fernandez has been good. He's been poor this season. He's been rubbish. And he needs to find a way to make this work because Enzo Maresca is trying to help him. He played him deeper against Panathinaikos. You know, and there'll be many more games where Fernandez will be able to play in his rightful position. But if you're not performing in your rightful position, it's very, very difficult. And you have to also find a way as a midfielder to make the players around you better. It's very clear from when he was playing alongside Caicedo, and Caicedo says it himself indirectly, if you want to say that. You know, when he's playing with Enzo Fernandez, he is covering for a player who is not doing his job in the middle. Caicedo is forced to do more because Fernandez is contributing less. He's great on the ball. But Mesut Ozil's a great player, for example, yeah? If you are not that good on the ball, if you don't have that level of creativity, you can't afford to not have other aspects to your game. Mesut Ozil, anyone who knows Mesut Ozil, played for Real Madrid and Arsenal. Fenerbahce as well, if I'm not wrong. Great player in his prime, world-class player. Terrible off the ball, but he was so good on the ball. And when his team had the ball, you had a real asset. Fernandez is great on the ball, but he's not as good as that. He is not as good as that. He doesn't have the creativity. Is not a world-class creator. He's good at creating. He can pass the ball well. He can spread the ball well. He can control and dictate the play. But he is not world-class. This guy is the most expensive player in Premier League history. He's not world-class. So for me, Enzo Fernandez needs to level up. He needs to sort it out. But also he needs to be given a chance to play in his rightful position. If Enzo Maresca is playing him as an 8, I know he has 8 on the back of his shirt, but he certainly isn't an 8. His best position as a deeper midfielder over there. Smash the likes, guys. Can we get 60 likes on YouTube? Let me know how many likes we're on. I don't even know how many likes we're on. Can we get 60 likes? Smash the likes. Big up to everyone on X as well. We've got over 200 of you on X. But yeah, Enzo Fernandez for me, never going to start ahead of Lavia. Never going to start ahead of Caicedo. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And you put this on yourself, Enzo, because of the lack of. Well, actually, no, that sounds harsh. It's not his fault if he's not good enough. That's just how it is. That's the reality. So no, he didn't put on himself. He's just not good enough. We put it on ourselves by signing him. But there you go. Dewsbury Hall, a player that I'm a big fan of. I like Dewsbury Hall. For me, Dewsbury Hall is criminally underrated. I think Dewsbury Hall's a good player. I don't think he's a top player. I think he's a good player. I think he had a terrible game. I think he was very poor. And again, he was played out of position. He is not a right winger. He's never been a right winger, as far as I'm aware. He's a midfielder. He's a number 8. He's a left-sided midfielder. He likes to run, cross the ball from the left. He likes to run into the box. He can track back well. He's a runner. Tactically, he's fully aware of what Enzo Maresca is trying to do. But he's not able to do that as a right winger. So I don't know why we expected Dewsbury Hall to be anything like what we've seen from Madueke, anything like what we saw from Pedro Neto, Sancho, any of these guys. Like Dewsbury Hall does not compare on that side because he is not a flash player. He's essentially like a Gallagher. You know, he runs, he does what the manager asks him to do. He's probably a little bit more technical than Gallagher, but yeah, just not good enough. Not good enough whatsoever. Really, really disappointing from him. But you've got to blame it on the manager. He put him there. What the fuck are we thinking? This is not the only guy that we played out of position. Again, those of you who have just joined, big up to everyone that's been in here as well. Disasi, out of position. Vega, out of position. Dewsbury Hall, out of position. Not to mention the fact that these guys are also in our second team. So not only do you blatantly disrespect the Carabao Cup and the opportunity to win a trophy, because it does come across like that. It's arrogance, really. You don't even play the players in their respective positions. You could have played 1, 2, 3 players, couple of players that played on Sunday. Nobody would have complained. It would have been annoying if someone was injured, but generally speaking, it's still heavy rotation. We just had nothing. We had nothing on that right-hand side. He was crap. And also, if you look at the beginning of the game, Joe Linton hit the post. And I was speaking about how Disasi wasn't going wide, yeah? He was staying very close as a right back. He wasn't really a fullback. It was almost like we were in a back, a very close back three at times, and Kukure's slightly further up. But yeah, Dewsbury Hall, his job was to track back and help Disasi, and he didn't do that, and we almost conceded a goal because of that as well. Not to mention that he was poor on the ball, didn't really create much, no flair whatsoever. No, Jason, I'm not going to say he's been rubbish against all the teams, because that's just not true. He was good against Barrow, and he was probably the man of the match against Ghent. So I'm not going to sit here and say he was rubbish against all those teams. I actually think that Dewsbury Hall has had some really good games for us, but he's also had some poor games. But that's because you are coming from the Championship, from Leicester. It's not easy to step straight into Chelsea's team, but I do believe he can be an important player for us, just not as a starter. I like Dewsbury Hall, but he had a poor game, and that's not entirely his fault. You have to blame the player because he's the one on the pitch, but the manager put him there. And ultimately, as a player, you are going to do what your manager tells you to do. And if your manager tells you to play out of position, you've got to do it. There's no option. So that's what he did. And it didn't work very well. Okay, we move on to the middle. João Felix. We spoke briefly about him at the beginning of this at this live. Now, for me, I said it in the vlog. I thought that João Felix was the best of a bad bunch in the first half. I didn't think he was terrible. I thought he was okay. I thought he was all right. I didn't think he was good, but I didn't think he was bad. Now, I was speaking to people after the game and looking at Lewis's title on his video. He clearly wasn't impressed with João Felix. I think we have to look at it from the perspective of finishing. You give the guy 0 out of 10. Terrible finishing. You've got to score at least one of those chances. That might be, when in the second half, when he pushed the ball wide, or in the first half when it was easy for the defender to block. Sometimes you have to hit these balls first time, or just be a little bit more confident. Take it round the keeper. Whatever it is you need to do, you should have the instinct as a player who has played at the highest level for 5 years. This guy was balling out in Benfica, signed for over 100 million by Atletico. And one of the things that people always said about João Felix is he is being restricted by the system. But this system doesn't restrict João Felix. He is in a perfect position to be able to play the type of football he wants to play, he likes to play, which is what he said, guys. He likes his style of play. It's possession-orientated. You can't make the excuse of, we were parking the bus. It's not like that. We've got plenty of the ball. But for me, João Felix wasn't terrible. I thought he was okay. Yeah, I thought he was all right. But his finishing's got to be better. Some people saying we should have never brought this guy in. He's not good enough for Chelsea. He is, but he's not good enough to start for Chelsea. He's a useful squad player. But you're a squad player for a reason. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. And he was shy in that sense. But no, I'm not going to say João Felix is one of the worst players. For me, he was all right. I look at Kukurea, I thought he was all right. I say the same thing about João Felix, but his finishing was shocking. It was poor. And, he needs to learn to put his chances away because, you're right, Nick. He plays his second team in the Carabao and the conference. Chelsea boy thinks Felix was okay. But yeah, so for me, Felix still not good enough at all. Let's not sit here and say, he's a star. He wasn't good enough whatsoever, and he should have scored. But best of a bad bunch, if I'm being brutally honest. Let's go on to the other side. This was shocking. Mykhailo Mudryk Rubbish. Not happy with what I saw from him. He was playing in his rightful position, but just fuck. Oh my God. Use your brain, man. Use your brain. I literally said after Greece, I was like, oh my days. I've never ever seen Mudryk make a run like that and run into the box and score a header. He's finally being coached. Maresca is getting the best out of this guy. This is a miracle. 2 steps forward, 3 steps backwards, and we are out of the Carabao Cup. And Mudryk, your game time, you are definitely not playing for me against Man United based on what I saw against Newcastle. No chance. I start Neto on the left and I start Madueke on the right-hand side. I do just want to big up Madueke, who came on. He was our only substitute in this game. Made a half-decent impact. Still not good enough ultimately. People go, yeah, but he didn't score. Oh, fucking hell. He can't do it all on his own. He needs a little bit more help around him. And he was working with bums, to be quite frank. But Mudryk was poor. No awareness, when to take a man on, when to cut inside. I don't understand why he doesn't shoot more. I'd love to just see that confidence in himself to... Alex says, yeah, Mudryk was bad, but how can he play good when Felix and Nkunku were worse than him? Yeah, that's a fair point, Alex. That's a very fair point. I would just say, listen, if you have that confidence within yourself, try and do a little bit on your own. This is where we look at players like Madueke, who can have some really bad performances, but also he is one of the few players that takes a game by the scruff of the neck at times, and Mudryk never does it. Never does it. He shies away from him. It's like he's a ghost in these games. And I look at him and I think, just take some responsibility. Listen, he's hit some terrible shots and sometimes they go way over. But I think to myself, at least he's having a crack instead of passing the ball backwards. Daniel says we're on 24 likes on YouTube. Come on, guys. We've got over 60 people. I've got almost 60 people on YouTube. Let's get 40 more likes on this video. Run up the likes. It really does help. And I appreciate it as well. It does help the channel. Smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed as well, subscribe to the channel. We're going to do many, many more lives. This is usually a morning show, but because I was in Newcastle, I couldn't get here in time for the morning. So we call it the day show. And we will be doing a call-in show later on today. So big up to Daniel for letting me know how many likes we're on. Let's see if we can get it up to 50. Can we get up to 50 likes first, and then we'll work from there. But yeah, Mudryk is just not enough awareness for me. And I don't know if he knows what he's doing or if he knows he's being poor and he's shy. At this level, you've just got to have a little bit more confidence. And that is what I want to see. I want to see a player who says, you know what, it might not work, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. Because what you've been doing in this game for 70 minutes or however long it's been isn't working. So sometimes you need to change things. I'll be interested to see what you think in the comments as well, guys. I mean, what's your thoughts on Mykhailo Mudryk? Are you happy with his performance? Are you satisfied? Is that good enough? Come on, guys. Let's be real. It was poor from Mudryk, and this is a player who I was really impressed with in Greece. And yeah, he's had a bit of a stinker, to be totally honest with you. He's had a stinker. But another player, and this is a real talking point, Christopher Nkunku. I do not understand why. Well, let's just say from this point out, if you think Nkunku should start ahead of Jackson as a number one, I thought he should start ahead of Jackson for rotation purposes or in the Premier League, because I wanted to see Jackson on Wednesday. But Nkunku he offered nothing. He offered absolutely nothing. He came across as weak. No leadership, no character. I'm looking to see a player that is ready to go. Give him the ball. He is going to help you make something happen. He's going to make the players around him better. Did he make João Felix better in this game? No. Did he make life easier for Mudryk on the left? No. Was there good link up? Not really. Let's not take the piss. Did he have any shots? Maybe one or two. To be honest with you, nothing really stands out. This is a player who contributes very, very little in the build-up of our play, but he gets away with it because of his goal-scoring attributes. If you don't give this guy service, he can't score goals. Now, he didn't actually have great service, to be fair. I don't remember Nkunku being fed many chances or missing a sitter. Tell me if I'm wrong, guys. So maybe we can criticize other players for that as well, because if you are a striker, you need people around you to create. But yeah, for me, Nkunku, he needs to do a lot better. He won't be starting anytime soon instead of Nicholas Jackson. I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed because he has been so good in these smaller games, and this was that step up. And people were saying to me, I was speaking to Kev, and Kev said, well, as soon as we have a challenge, the guy runs away. He's a ghost. How do I defend that? I mean, I can't defend that because he's not even wrong. Did miss-hit his touches in the box, though, 3 occasions. Chelsea fans are fake. Only one match. Well, Dixon Donald, I wouldn't say it was fake because I went there. I was at the Newcastle game. I don't know if you were at the game. I was actually there. Yeah, people want to be critical about a lot of things that the fans are saying. If they're going to the games, you can't criticize them for that. You certainly can't call them fake fans. I don't know where that's coming from. Cost over £100 to get to Newcastle and back, and also basically missing out on a night's sleep. And I missed out on work, so I had to take time off work. So it actually cost more than £100 if you include the money that I would have earned, because I'm self-employed. I don't get paid when I don't work. But yeah, I really, really don't understand why Nkunku couldn't show more in this game. It was disappointing. Ultimately, we just have to look at this performance and say how we see it. I mean, I saw the game and I thought it was crap. Maresca saw the game and he thought it was a good performance. Maybe that's why I'm not a manager. Hey, listen, I don't know what to say. We had patterns of play at times, yes. I certainly think that there was times we had patterns of play. There were combinations, of course there were, but we play the same way every week. That's generally the idea here, is not to change week on week. Sometimes the line is a little bit deeper or a little bit further up, but the actual style of football doesn't really change. So from my perspective, when we look at Maresca and what he's saying, what the fuck are you? Happy we lost, now the Chelsea fans can shut up and let the manager manage. What are you on about? What? You see, I don't understand what that means at all. Look, the only positive from this is we won't have as many issues with congestion, but congestion is still a real thing. With or without the Carabao Cup, there's going to be congestion. December is going to be heavy. We got Conference League games. We're going to Germany. We're going to Kazakhstan. We've got Shamrock and Noah as well in those games. Then we got the knockout stages. That's going to require a little bit more of a serious approach. That's when I want to see Lavia and Palmer get involved, because we can't afford to lose those games and we need to pick up a trophy. This trophy, the Carabao Cup, was our chance to make something happen domestically and show that. I mean, everyone talks about the Conference League like we should win it. Like, on paper, we shouldn't win the Carabao Cup. There's a good chance that we can win it, but you don't look at it if you're any other team and go, oh yeah, Chelsea are going to win that. You'd probably say Man City, wouldn't you? Because they have a good track record in that competition. So, yeah, I mean, the fact that they got knocked out as well just annoys me more, because it makes me feel like there was a genuine opportunity to make something happen. And I don't look at Arsenal as a threat. I don't look at a lot of these other teams. Maybe Liverpool, to be fair. Man City and Liverpool as well. So you can make that point. But listen, it's over now, isn't it? We're out. And you have to respect the manager's decision. Like, this isn't disrespect, what we're saying about Maresca and the team. We are just saying it how we see it. If you see it and think it was great, Maybe you should give Chelsea an email and join Maresca's coaching staff because he liked it, but I didn't. And I'm entitled not to like it because I travelled up there and it was crap. You know, what's the problem with that? What's the problem? Ultimately, everyone has opinions, and I would say I'm very patient. I'm quite positive. I like to give people time. I certainly wouldn't sack Maresca this season, irrespective of how we do in this competition. You know, this was never going to cost him his job. But criticism is something in football that everyone has to get used to and be comfortable with. Get comfortable with criticism as long as it's constructive. When it becomes personal, then it's different. And I'm not at a stage in my life when I want to get personal with Maresca. So no, that's not something that I plan on doing. The FA Cup is the next competition, isn't it? So we need to take that seriously and push for some results in the FA Cup, because if we win a domestic trophy on top of the Europa Conference League, that is not just a statement to Chelsea that we can win in the player. It is a statement to the rest of England. I don't think that teams take us that seriously if we win the Conference League. Do you take West Ham seriously? Not really. So does it mean that much? It does mean something, because then at least we can say we've won it all. But to win a competition domestically, it does send a message. And I would like to see that we are not just going for one trophy. And you know what? We're happy with that, because that almost shows a lack of ambition because of with Chelsea. Why did we sign all these players and have such depth if we're not going to utilize the quality in our team? I think that it's a little bit of both. Yeah, we have no injuries. So what is the problem with potentially risking a player who plays, 2 games in a row? I don't see a big issue with that. So as far as I'm concerned, what Maresca did was he just went a step too far. We could have easily put 1 or 2 players from that Premier League team on Wednesday, and that would have made our life much easier. Jackson being one, and maybe Gusto being another. Potentially a player in the midfield, Lavia or Caicedo. Then you don't need Disasi to play as a right back. You can get someone else in on the right wing instead of Dewsbury Hall. I mean, the fact that Sancho was injured as well, so maybe that wasn't tactical. Maybe Sancho was meant to start in that game on the right wing, but then he was called ill. So that's probably one position I might have a bit of empathy on, because Maresca saw that, well, there's not many other options here. He didn't want to play Neto. He didn't want to start Madueke. So he went with Dewsbury. But that doesn't make it good. That doesn't make it right. I mean, it was poor. It was really, really poor. And yeah, I mean, I'm in the stadium and people are walking out after 60 minutes. Not many of them, but some people, especially the ones that were sitting by me. And I think you've travelled all the way up to Newcastle to watch this. You might as well watch it. But yeah, we got taken out of the cup. It is what it is. I mean, what do you think? Usman thinks maybe Maresca prepares for the the Premier League game against United. Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. He's thinking about Man United. Thoughts on Trevor Chalobah? I mean, I love Trevor Chalobah when he was at Chelsea. I think that he was one of our best centre backs. I don't think he's doing anything special at Palace. As far as I'm aware, he's been okay. He won't be playing for Chelsea again. I don't think that's ever going to happen. He's already been shipped off. Alex, we need to win a trophy this season. Daniel, we need to win as many trophies as we can and compete. The reason I was so patient under Poch was because I knew that we didn't have the quality in the team, the depth in this team. We didn't have the experience either. We have leveled up since then as a team. We have leveled up. Jackson, this is his 2nd season. Madueke settled. Caicedo is settled. Lavia is fit. James is fit. So that we can't make the same excuses because it's a different circumstance. Do I think we're going to get a centre-back in January? I have no idea, to be honest with you. But I've heard we're linked with Ruben Diaz. That'd be interesting. If we went on Sunday and get a result at home to Arsenal, I'm happy to overlook last night. However, that was a really poor performance from Maresca, not to make the subs to change the game. I couldn't agree more with you, Matrix. I could not agree more. Guys, can we run up the likes? Let's see if we can get 60 likes on YouTube, people? I'm even going to type it up. 60 likes on YouTube. Come on, people. Smash the like button if you haven't already. It makes a big difference. And, it just shows me as well that you actually enjoy watching these videos. I love doing them, and I'll probably do them anyway. But, let me know if you like it or if you don't. You can hit the thumbs down if you don't. And also, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Omely. Guys, if you don't know what Omely is, it's basically an app where football fans can talk to each other and connect like never before. On Twitter, you have to find different spaces. It's hard to join those spaces because there's so many people. With Omely being a brand new app, it's much more personal. So if you want to speak to Lewis or Nina, Charlie, myself, Kev, you actually have a genuine chance of doing that on Omely. And you might be watching, and maybe you're a Newcastle fan. There'll be creators from all clubs on that app. So download it. There's a link. There's a QR code here. You can scan the QR code to download Omely. There's also a link in the description. If you're on X, you go on Chelsea Fan TV's bio, and it's pinned at the top of our page. But listen, guys, we're going to round it out there because, unfortunately, I have to go to work. But I appreciate you all watching. We've got 350 of you in the building. Before you go, guys, smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate your time and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be back later on for the call-in show.